Yep, you're seeing the slide for the third time. Yep, I know it's a pain. However, I want you to be sure that you know your three branches of government: the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch, and you need to know what each does. Make sure that you know this information. And of course, if I showed you the previous slide, you know I was going to show you this slide. Again, make sure you know your head of government, make sure you know chief of state. Very important. All right, there are two types of democracies that we need to talk about. There's the direct democracy and the representative or republic democracy. You'll see very few direct democracies due to the fact that it has to be a very small group, because all the people, I mean every person, gets to a vote or to vote on issues. And here in the United States, we have people that vote on issues for us. They're our representatives. But in a direct democracy, you literally have to, as part of the people, do the voting. So people vote on all issues. Exist in only small societies where citizens can regularly meet and discuss issues. One place that you might or could still find a direct democracy would be a kibbutz in Israel. Okay, the one that we're most familiar with, because it's the type we have in the United States, is a representative or republic democracy. And this is where people vote on representatives and give them the power to vote on issues for us. So we elect our congressmen, our senators. They're the ones that do our voting for us. Examples where you're going to find a representative or republic democracy would be the United States or Israel. Okay, there's a problem with this sentence right here. Actually, it's not even a sentence, it's just an example, but there's still a problem there. Can you see it? Did you notice that comma? Of course, that's the problem. Cross-curricular, there's your language arts lesson for today. All right, I need to talk to you about parliamentary and presidential forms of a democratic government. Of course, you're going to be most familiar with this one right here, because this is the type we have in the United States. If you were from Great Britain, then you would be most familiar with the parliamentary form of a democratic government, because that's the kind they have in Great Britain. And it's also the type that they have in Israel, which we're about to talk about. So pay real close attention right now. Okay, in a parliamentary form of a democratic government, people vote for those who represent political parties. Okay, so they're voting for political parties they feel represent their views. So these political parties must represent the view of the person or the party that you personally have, rather, and how the government should operate. So people vote for parties rather than people. Now let me say that again, because that's different from the United States. People vote for parties. They don't vote for the individual person. They vote for the party. And it is that party that is supposed to represent their view of how the government should operate. Okay? One more time. In a parliamentary form of democratic government, people vote for the party that they think best represents their view. They do not vote for the individual. They vote for the party. Okay? Make sure that you know that. I'm going to put a star here because you have to know that. All right, the legislature, they elect the parliament makes and enforces the law. So they have a legislature, it makes and enforces the law. Okay? I thought you said that was the executive branch that enforces the law. Well, it is, but in this case, the legislature is the executive branch. So, legislator, I know, it gets a little confusing, doesn't it? The legislator is the executive branch. All right, let me say that one more time. In a parliamentary form of a democratic government, the legislature not only makes the laws, it enforces the laws, so it is the executive part of the branch as well. You just have to know that. There's no way around it. The leader of parliament is called the prime minister. The leader of parliament is called the prime minister, and he is recognized as the head of the government. So the leader of parliament is called the prime minister, and he's recognized as head of government. If you're confused, we're going to need to have you talk to your teacher. So talk to your teacher if you're a little bit confused about this. That's the only way to get it straight in your head. So a quick review. People vote for a political party that they think will best represent them. They don't vote for the individual. The legislature makes and enforces the laws. So it's also the executive part of the government as well. The leader of parliament is called the prime minister, and he is the recognized head of government. There's one other thing that you need to know, and it gets, stay with me. The prime minister usually comes from the largest party in parliament. So whichever party during the election gets the most members usually gets to pick the prime minister. Okay? I know that's a lot of information. Write it down, take notes, review, listen to me again. You've got to know that. Okay, presidential form of a democratic government, much easier because this is what you already know. Okay, it's also called a congressional form of government. President or chief executive is chosen separately from the legislature. Okay, we as a people vote for the president. People vote for the president. We get to vote for the president. In a parliamentary system, we only get to vote for the parties in the legislature. He is chosen separate. He is chosen separately from the legislature. So the president has nothing to do with the legislator. We vote as a people for the president, and then we can also vote for people in the legislature. Two totally different votes. Legislature makes and passes laws. The president enforces laws. This is what we know. President is the chief executive. Legislative branch makes the laws. Good. We should be. If not, talk to your teacher, and let's get it straightened out for you. The differences between the two. One of them is prime minister is a member of parliament, which is, of course, a parliamentary form of democracy, and the president, in a presidential form of democracy, is in a separate branch of the government. He is voted on separately by the people. So we elect the president, then we elect members of Congress. We don't elect them together. The president is not part of the legislature in the United States. They're totally separate. In a parliamentary form of democracy, the prime minister is part of the legislature. If you need to play this back over a couple of times to get this in your head, take some notes, do so. All right, now that you know all the stuff that we just talked about, let's talk about the government of Israel. All right, it has type of government is a. All right, I just made a mistake. I'm going to have to push the slides back to where we were. So I apologize, but I don't want to re-record all this. So hold on. Sorry about this, people. All right, here we go. Type of government. It's a parliamentary democracy. Remember, the people vote for the party in parliament that they want to represent them. The party with the largest number of members elects the prime minister. Okay, so let's talk about the executive branch. The prime minister is, of course, part of the executive branch. He is the head of government, and he's picked by the legislative branch, usually with the largest party in parliament, who chooses the prime minister. They have a president that is chosen separately, and his role is ceremonial. Okay? The role of the president in Israel is basically ceremonial. He does have some powers, but for the most part, he is ceremonial. The legislative branch is the official name of parliament. The legislative branch, the official name for the parliament in Israel is called the Knesset. In the United States, we call our legislature Congress. In Israel, they call their legislative branch Knesset. Okay? Once again, Parliament is their legislative branch, and they call their legislative branch Knesset. Remember, the Prime Minister is part of the legislative branch, and they do have a judicial branch or a Supreme Court. The government of Israel, as far as personal freedoms go, they have many rights very similar to the United States. They have freedom of religion. They have universal suffrage, which just means everyone can vote. You have to, of course, be of a certain age. Some restrictions of the press. That's because of the conflicts between the Israelis and the Palestinians. So there is some squashing of some things that happen in the press between the two. But for the most part, if you went to Israel, you would think almost you were in the United States as far as personal freedoms go. Citizen participation is democratic because if you're 18 years or older, you can certainly vote. And power distribution is unitary because all the power is held in the central government.